Well, hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Zoom Hope Live. I don't know, but I have been just looking forward to this episode, this show that we're going to have today. What about you, Landon?
Yes, for sure. I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, and I'm so looking forward to hearing and learning more from our panelists today.
Okay, so that's going to be our discussion. And um, I know a lot of persons might have an idea of what entrepreneurship is. And of course, I know as the panelists begin to speak, we will know exactly what it is. But London, what's your understanding of what entrepreneurship is as we are about to go into the discussion this afternoon on Zoom Hope Live?
Yes. So the topic of entrepreneurship, a very basic definition of entrepreneurship, entrepreneur in particular, is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. And so entrepreneurs are, this is a very general definition of entrepreneurship, that these are individuals that have started up their own businesses. And some, we'll get into it as we get into the topic, but some entrepreneurs have multiple jobs. Right. Some entrepreneurs have 9-to-5s, and some have just fully delved themselves into being an entrepreneur. And for the latter, for the person that just completely delves into, is definitely a financial risk. And so we're going to be talking about that in light of even stewardship and what it means to be a good steward and being an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I was just about to ask if you have your own entrepreneur business going. You seem as if you're well educated. But what do you want our viewers to do for us? I think I'd like for them to ask some questions as we go.
Yes. So please make sure that you like the page, that you share this information as you're taking in the information, so other people can also have the opportunity to learn about entrepreneurship and potentially, find out more information about these entrepreneurs in particular.
Yes, we're going to share that with you.
Share it, and if you have any questions, please make sure to type your questions into the comment section so that we can review those questions and try to answer as many as we can here on this platform.
Yes, we want to make sure you become a part of the Zoom Move family. So we want you to like us, share us, follow us, and ring that bell. So as soon as we go live, wherever you are, you know it. Okay, so we're gonna go through and let you know the exciting panelists that we have here to delve into this topic of entrepreneurship, creating your vision of hope. I am Larry, your host, and you by now should know.
And I am London, your co-host of Zoom Hope Live.
Okay. So we will now introduce to you our first panelist, and I hope I get your name right. It was pronounced to me before, Adenike, right? Adenike. So Adenike is the founder and business director of Fiber, a plant-based co. And she is a doer, she's a critical thinker, and she is also a problem solver. Skill development, working in IT for more than 18 years. So she has experience into when you talk about information technology. When changing management and manager acquisitions threatened her family existence, she sought to create a system and process that would give her family financial freedom and security. Oh yes, you are indeed a critical thinker, just by the way you put this together. And having diagnosis of hyperthyroidism, she set out to solve one of the first major problem she was facing, living and eating healthy on the go. So with only $200, can you believe it? A big idea and a sheer determination. Since 2012, it became a reality. And from there, Fiber makes great healthy food that are not only great, but it's tasty, it's convenient, affordable for everyone on the go. And who is not on the go? Pastors, lawyers, doctors, you name it. Everybody's on the go. So her business is just for everyone. She's a business educator and facilitator, 4AT brain practitioner, and business director, you name it. All of these are for you. So welcome to the show today. Who else do we have?
Yes, yes. And we also have Kimon Hines. Also, many of you may know him as Pastor Kimon Hines. He helps individuals and organizations bring ideas to life. As a coach, speaker, and minister, he helps people figure out the next steps in closing the gap between where they are and where they want to be. He is married to Kyrene and has been since November of 2000, right? I'm like, we don't even say that anymore, right? We say 2020. I'm trying to say 2010. But they've been married for 20 years, and they are proud parents of 3 teenagers. That's Jaden, Janae. Am I saying that Janae or Janai? Janaya, and Joelle. And Joelle is with us, and we're going to be introducing her in just a moment. Pastor Hines is a graduate of the Seventh-day Adventist Seminary, Andrews University, and served as a pastor, youth director, and church planter for 15 years. One of Kimon's passions is empowering people to live as the church in the world. That message is the focus of his book, This is Church Where You Fit In. He is also the host of Ideas to Life podcast. So his podcast, once again, is called Ideas to Life, which can be found on any of the podcast platforms. And you can also visit his website at kimonhines.com. And last time, the way you spell his last name, since it was there, you should see it there displayed, last name Hinds. And next, we're gonna hear just a little bit about his wonderful daughter.
Okay. And just now I was just watching both of them as they were smiling, and their smiling is slayful. It's just gonna get you. It's just gonna get you. So Joelle Hines, she of course is the daughter of the previous guest that was just introduced, Pastor Kimon Hines. She has a wonderful business, and here what it is called. She is the owner and operator of Slay All Day Nails. I hope I get that contract to do your commercials. Slay All Day Nails, a press-on nail business. It is a shop for busy women who wants their nail to be done but don't have the time to go to the nail salon. So Joelle, she creates awesome designs in her business that gets shipped right to your home. Can you imagine that? So she has you covered. So welcome, Joelle, to Zoom Up Live.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. And our next guest is Chris Sawyer. He is I'm I don't know why I'm tongue-tied. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So he has launched the Bahamas' the very first mobile document destruction company, Sunrise Shredding Service in 2000 as well. So the same year that Kimon and his wife got married is the same year that Chris Sawyer started this particular business. He used innovation to grow the company into a major player in records and information management. Chris grew up in Nassau and went to Queens College and later graduated from Kingsway College 7th SDA High School in Ontario, Canada. He continued his studies in information technology at Humber College in Toronto, Canada, and then went on to university. And after college, Chris worked at the largest brokerage company in Canada, and that's Nesbitt Burns, as a trained certified network engineer for 5 years. And also in 2000, he returned to the Bahamas to start Sunrise Shredding Services, a mobile information destruction service company. And let's see, Chris serves as an active member of the BCCEC, and you're going to tell us what that means. What is the BCCEC? That's a long acronym, and I have no idea what that means. So in just a moment, I'm going to give you space to tell us, and also served as secretary. He currently serves as director of the SDBC and NAD. So tell us what these acronyms mean, Chris, please.
Hey, London, and to all the guests, I got to just say, first of all, I am so honored to be invited with such a vibrant group of entrepreneurs and young people. I feel out of place, but you know what? I'm just honored to be here. So thank you, first of all. I know I got a lot of acronyms, but just to start, BCCEC, in short, it's the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. That's what it was. So I used to be the secretary of Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. SBDC is the Small Development Business Council, which currently exists. I'm now a director of that. And then NAD is the Nassau Airport Development Company. So I'm a director of the airport. I serve on other groups, but those are what those acronyms are all for.
Awesome, awesome. And then before we go into our first question, I also wanted to mention that he is also married Nadine. I'm so sorry. He is also married to Nadine for 22 years, and they have a son, Jared, and a daughter, Alyssa. And he is a member of the Hillview SDA Church. Today's gonna be a good day, y'all. I'm getting tongue-tied, but it's gonna be a blessing. I can feel it. It's gonna be good. So our first question for today is why did you become an entrepreneur? And Adenike, I would like to start with you because you mentioned it briefly in your bio. So if you can please tell us why, just elaborate a little bit more. Why did you become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so first, thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It's a unique question, but most importantly, in a special way, I believe God chose me to be an entrepreneur. Here's why I say this. It wasn't an easy decision leaving IT. It wasn't an easy decision leaving IT. It was a difficult one in the sense where, being an entrepreneur, it's truly an unstable, it's not a stable income coming in as, let's say, a career, a profession. Mm-hmm. So you have to, weigh the pros and the cons. And with that, I believe it was something that I was chosen to do. And instead of burying the talent I chose to
Hey.
pursue it.
Yeah.
And because it was uncomfortable at first, it took some prayer. It took some real deep consideration. It wasn't something that I rushed into. It was something that I highly considered. And I spoke to my husband about it, and we pursued it together.
Yeah.
And because we went into it as a team, it really developed into something that was manageable, not short-term, but long-term, because you need that support, need that foundation, not just from yourself, but from the people around you. And because of the constant change management and the merger acquisitions, my family's, existence was threatened. It was threatened because here I was working, for a reputable company, but then one day they sell to another company. And so there was mergers, and then your position was threatened because they had to downsize it. And frankly, I became tired of that. And also the other thing too is I homeschool my children. I have 3 children. Sorry, I'm just getting over something. I have 3 kids, and I decided that as a lazy parent, I didn't want to reteach the things that I've already taught to them. I wanted to have control over their academic knowledge, and I wanted to have Bible study with the kids. And I found that being an entrepreneur enabled me to achieve those 2 goals: financial freedom, having that kind of control over my own security, and just being able to sit with the kids, have worship, and just teach them the fundamentals of life, and not have to reteach them and go over that. So these are different variables that came into play as why I went into it, and I believe it was God's leading.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I hear you saying that it came out of necessity and prayer and necessity.
Yes.
Right. This is why you in particular became an entrepreneur. And I think that that's wonderful. And, something else that I heard you say is that I hear you admonishing even people, that letting people know, even though being an entrepreneur means that you're independent, you still are doing it within community, and you still need support in order for it to be successful.
Vital support. A lot of the time, people will glorify it, and they think that it's something that you can venture out on your own, but it definitely is a team effort. So if you are from a single-minded mentality, it can work for so long, but eventually you're gonna have to grab a hold of some people to support you.
Amen. Yeah. Community is necessary. That's foundational. I really appreciate also how you didn't hide your talents. You didn't bury them, right? Like the unfaithful servant. Kimon, please answer the same question for us. Why did you become an entrepreneur and really made your whole family an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurs, but what caused that for you? Why did that come about?
I think, so growing up, one of my uncles was an entrepreneur, and my father worked with him in his business. And I remember where I went to school was just a couple blocks away from where he had his business. I remember seeing my family's name on a business, and as a young kid, that had an effect on me. I didn't realize back then that it had planted a seed of a dream to at some point own something that I could pass on to my own children. And I guess it was one of those dreams that, you kind of think, well, that's probably not going to happen. And as along the way in pastoral ministry, I felt like as much as God had called me into it, he was beginning to call me away from it. And he started to reveal to me, okay, I can help people to bring these ideas to life. And I think it became a matter of stewardship, that I had these gifts, I had these dreams, and God was kind of nudging me to step out, and the way to take action on that and to eventually leave the legacy that the dream of leaving something behind for my children was to start my own business. And that's why I stepped out about 2 years ago into this this journey, as Adenike said, that's not always stable, that has ups and downs, but that's why I stepped out.
If I might chime in, do you not feel guilty or feel as if, ministry is the thing, and with me doing these other stuff, it's taking my attention? Have you heard that, or have you had that?
Sure. I've heard it, and I think I'm I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's a really good space just to say that my view and the biblical view of ministry is that all of us as Christians are in ministry.
Okay.
Ministry is not just reserved for those who get paid full time to lead a congregation. In fact, if we're being technical, those who work a 9-to-5 job, they're in more full-time ministry because they encounter people who need Jesus even more than we, the pastors, those who pastor a congregation. But I sense that just as God had called me into pastoring, I felt the same level of call to step into the role of entrepreneurship, which really took more faith. And to stay pastoring would have been an act of disobedience rather than an act of obedience at that point. And
that's good.
And last thing, I just think for some people, I think we have to understand God's call in our life, that God's call isn't always static, that at times God moves us from one place to the next.
Yes, that's good. That's good. I mean, you answered that question, right? You answered that question in that so often you're broadening, similar to what your book what you said that your book talks about is you're broadening what is ministry and what is ministry in the world. And yeah, I really receive everything that you just said, that within a call to pastoral ministry, God then called you onto a new thing, and not that you are leaving ministry behind. It kind of irritates me when people go into chaplaincy or entrepreneurship or something outside of pastoral ministry, and the phrase is used, you've left the ministry. No. I have not left the ministry. I have not left Christ. It's just going to look different for me now. I'm being stretched, and I hear you saying that you were being stretched, and I really, and then next I would love to hear from Chris as well. After I say this, is that at the end of the day, I think so often we look at the Bible and we try to apply principles to ourselves that may not apply to us in our particular situation, which is why I appreciate it when you just said that for you specifically, you knew that to not pursue or to reject the idea of pursuing entrepreneurship would have been disobedience to God for you. And to try to appease other people to do what they wanted you to do would have been disobedience to God. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because I think whether you're trying to go into entrepreneurship or God is calling our listeners to go into something else, that speaks volumes right there, is to do what God has called you to do. Chris, I would love to hear from you, and then, well, Joel, if you will allow, wait, because I would like to hear from Joel, and then we'll hear from you, Chris. Okay, so your dad decided to go into entrepreneurship. He told us the family history, but why did you say, yeah, Dad, I want a piece of that? Yeah, Dad, I want to do that too. What was the journey for you?
So I've always wanted to be my own boss. Like, even when I wanted to be in the medical field, I always wanted to have my own health business. So I've always wanted to be my own boss. Then my mom said when we turned 13, we were able to start wearing press-ons. So my 13th birthday was coming up, and I started doing research on press-ons since I was about to be able to start wearing them.
Okay.
And in my research, I saw that people were selling them. And I thought that was so cool. So I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, people are selling them. Like, what if I start selling them and make my own nail business? So I think that's what caused me to become an entrepreneur.
Okay, so even as something simple, for some people so simple of wearing nails, you made sure to do your research, and out of you doing your due diligence, you were like, hey, I can sell these. Not only can I wear them, but I can make money doing this, right? That's what I hear you saying. That's awesome. That's awesome. Chris, if you will please share with us your journey before we move on to our second question.
All right. You know what? I gotta say, I got a little bit of everything. From Adenike, from Timor, it's all the same thing. You know, why did I get into business? I always grew up in business. My grandparents had a store, and I grew up in that store. So I've always been hustling and moving around business and moving around money. And it just kind of kept going. It was always something that, let's call it the bug, that was always stuck in me. And I went into it and I said, as I was going through my career, I said, you know what, I want this thing called financial freedom, right? And one day I met this guy, his name is Michael Lee Chin. I was still in Toronto, I was doing my thing. And Michael Lee Chin, if you guys don't know it, he is a Jamaican, but when he was there living in Canada, he was the third richest, get this, third richest man in Canada. He's a Black Jamaican. And I got an opportunity to sit down and speak with him. I probably was about 2021, and he introduced me to this principle. He said, you know what? And it was about 4 or 5 of my guys. And he said, hey, listen, it's not about working for something more valuable than financial freedom. And I started to say, you know, what's the answer? I was intrigued. He says it's about freedom of time, not financial freedom, but freedom of time. And he dropped it in my spirit to say, hey, listen, if you can work for time, you will always have money, right? Always. So work for time. And not that you don't put your interest into it and do what you got to do, but so that was my guiding thing. And then, you know, what was intrigue. While I was in Toronto, I was going to school full time. I was working at this place, what we call a phone center. And this guy one day came in, he had this big truck, he picked up this bag of paper, took it outside, brought it back and gave me an invoice. And I was like, this guy just gave me an invoice for shredding paper. Are you serious? You can make money, he's billing me to shred paper? And the intrigue started, and I was like, wow. And out of need or necessity, and I was like, well, you know what? There's nobody doing this back home in the Bahamas. The seed was planted. There was a problem here in the Bahamas, and I now said, hey, I have a solution for this so I can monetize it. So finding problems and finding solutions to those problems and monetizing it creates a business, right? And so that's where that kind of came out of. And so I jumped into it wholesale, very naive, very green, but went full forward in it. And it's been a success. The Lord has been blessing me. And I've achieved both financial freedom, but more so freedom of time to do the things that I really want to do. But I will say this, and I think this is through my 20 years of learning about this stuff, I think we've been kind of programmed wrong. We are all entrepreneurs because God's principle says that we're all stewards and we have to be held accountable for it. And we can take our talents right now. We brand ourselves, whether we're working a 9 to 5, we're working for our family or we're working to pay bills. It's dependent upon our efforts. So we're all entrepreneurs. That's why you guys go to school and do this and do that, and you do training and whatnot. You're really investing in yourself so that you can provide the freedoms that you want to have that will make you happy in life. So we are all stewards and we're all entrepreneurs. And if you would just kind of take the program in and fix it a little bit more, and you say, hey, listen, you know what, everything I do, I could kind of monetize that, then we will be better stewards. And Pastor, maybe you can help me, but I remember sometime I read in the book, the Bible says we're supposed to have 7 streams of income. So we got to work towards those 7 streams, whether it's in pastoring, whether it's in social media. I mean, life is just too vast, too beautiful, too much for it just to stay fixed on one thing.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I hear you. So at first you're like, we're all entrepreneurs. I'm like, I'm not an entrepreneur. You know, I might be one day, but I'm not there, right? That's like my first kind of reaction. But I hear it inside of me. But what I hear you saying is that we all have the capability, that we have tools, and that we've been programmed to kind of be on the assembly line, you know, kind of thing, and just go along to get along. But really, as we've been educated, whether that's formal education, right, in schools, or just being educated in life, because there's some entrepreneurs that only have a high school diploma, right, and they're still successful. But just learning and gaining information that you can utilize the things that that you learn in this world to be an entrepreneur. Am I getting that right? Is that essentially what you're saying?
I mean, come out of the construct. There's this term now in I guess the new people call it branding. Everybody's branding themselves and being a brand and putting themselves on YouTube and likes and this, that. That's because you're an entrepreneur. You're branding your efforts, you're branding your talents. You need to brand yourself and have it monetized so that you're generating income. That's really what it is.
I hear you trying to break up. I hear you trying to expand the term so it's not as taboo. That's what I hear you saying. Adenike, I heard you. I saw your head nodding when he was saying 7 streams of income. Was there something you wanted to add to that comment before we move on to our next question?
Solomon said to have 7. You know what? 9. Have 9, because the whole point is to have the ships coming in. You have to have the ships coming in, because when one ship falters, you have another one on the way in. So it's important to diversify. However, I found that with some type of control, so that you're not just kind of spread it, because you have some people like myself. I'm just a serial entrepreneur. I see a problem, I see a need, and I'm just out there solving it. So you have to do it with some type of control. But most importantly, like Pastor Kimon was saying, that it's a matter of, there's a passion that is within you, and it flows, and it's a matter of being obedient to the calling, because you have the primary calling. All of us are called to enhance God's kingdom. All of us are called. We have that responsibility to respond to that calling. Now, the secondary calling is our talents and our gifts. Where would you put these talents and your gifts? How would you utilize them? Would you stay with one, or would you multiply them and bring it back to the Savior? Because at the end of the day, everything that he has given to us needs to be given back to him and brought to him with glory and honor and praise. He says, with everything that we do, we must give him glory, we must give him honor, we must give him praise, because what we have is his. He creates the opportunities, and we are just obedient to the calling of the opportunities. So as a pastor is exercising that calling as the primary and secondary. So it's the same thing for everyone. We're all called, but it's just a matter of who decides and who wants to move forward on this calling. It doesn't necessarily have to be in front of the pulpit, but there's veterinarians out there that need witnessing to. So if your skill is in the animal field, you need to go out into the animal field and witness to the veterinarians. That's just how he diversifies himself for the kingdom. And it's a matter of us being obedient to these calling. So I do agree with you, London, that, it's annoying at times when I hear that, if my pastor friends, if they're, you're leaving the faith, or not the faith, but you're abandoning. No, you are just going on to another calling. Maybe you're just a serial entrepreneur. You don't even know it, because you see a need and you fulfill that need. And just like Mr. Sawyer was saying, that time is richness in the time that you have, the time I have with my children. I can't buy that. I have to work for it. And it's so precious to me, because being able to spend the time with my children, as opposed to when I was in the corporate world and, building someone else's dream, now I can sit with them and they can watch me build our dream, our legacy together. So it's definitely something that I've seen, during the times that I've been just building and grinding this thing out. That is so important that we just, I'm sorry, I'm in love with this.
I receive it. I hear you saying, and Pastor Green is going to give us Pastor Green is going to give us our second question, but I hear you saying that in walking in your calling, you're walking in the calling of the Proverbs 31 woman, right? And oftentimes we misinterpret that chapter, and we misinterpret that woman to say that she was just a housewife, right? But if you look closely, she was an entrepreneur, and she also took care of her family, and she had the time and the freedom to make money, to bring income, and also spend time with her children and her husband. And so I hear you saying that God called you specifically to do that, and has taught you how to do that. Pastor Green, Larry, you are going to give us our next question.
Yes, I'm heading right into that right now. But I really appreciate you, panelists. It's just so awesome, because already my mind has been taken to a place where I'm happy that it's going. As you're talking, Chris, about gifts, that we have so much gifts and God wants us, it's a matter of stewardship. I started to think about the many things that my hands can do, the many things that in my heart I want to do. And sometimes the question that I ask you, Pastor Heinz, is because it's kind of personal. Not that I'm thinking that way, but sometimes even the system can want you to stay within the box while everything is pouring down on you in the box and burying you in the box, and you need something to get you out. You understand what I'm talking about, right? So as personally, I am contemplating and seeing how I can even launch out in the several giftedness that the Lord would have blessed me with, the mind that he would have blessed me with. I know there are people out there who are asking this question: what are the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur? Tell me, because this is becoming juicy, but what are those pros and cons?
Sure, I'm going to answer that, and I just want to put a little bit onto what Chris and Adenike were saying. Chris made a point that everyone is an entrepreneur, and I think there's a parable that Jesus talks about giving these gifts, and when he comes back, he's asking the servants, what did you do with it? And it's them taking risks and using what they have and multiplying it. And I think we miss the fact that all of us have gifts that God has given us that we use in various ways. We take a risk on that. And I think if we all embrace the fact that whether I'm self-employed, I work for someone, God has given me something to use, and in the use of that, I'm being entrepreneurial, we would kind of lower, we'll take it off the top shelf and make sure that all of us know we are doing it in the course of life. So let me answer the question you asked, the pros. Yes. I think it goes back to some of the things, and I don't want to repeat, but it gives some flexibility to be an entrepreneur. You're able to determine, in a vast sense, your schedule. You have what we call like self-determination. You're able to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do. And I think the big thing for me is it allows me to use my maximum creativity. I think in any role that I have, there is some level of, okay, this is what this job requires. And, even in ministry, okay, well, we need you to operate here. But I think as an entrepreneur, you get a chance to really just kind of go after and use the gifts you have, the creativity you have in a wide way. Now, the cons are it's risk, right? So when I was a pastor, one of the things I knew once a month, that check was going to hit direct deposit. Now, on a month that maybe I took off for 2 weeks, the same check was coming, right? No matter what happened, if I had guest speakers all month, the same check. So it was that stability. Being an entrepreneur, there is that level of, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. Everything isn't like ironclad at the beginning. I'm sure people who may be further on in the journey, who've developed their 7 streams, there's more stability. But there is that level of, still figuring things out and, wanting income stability. I think that's one of the cons that you navigate in the entrepreneurship journey.
Yes, for sure. Joelle, it seems like if I don't call you out, you're not going to say much. So I'm going to call you out right now. Is there, how can you answer that same question? What are the pros and the cons that you've experienced as a young person being an entrepreneur?
So a pro for me is definitely being able to express my creativity through my own business. I get to make different nail designs, so I get to design different things. And, my nails are being worn by different people, which is kind of cool. Another pro is, of course, I get to make my own money. I don't really need to pay any bills or anything, so I can use that and, spend it on different stuff, but like still be responsible and stuff like that. A con for me is I do have to make different sacrifices to be able to run my own business. Like during summer, I still have to make nail orders, so I don't have as much free time to, binge watch Netflix and stuff like that.
All right. It's making you more responsible. So
yes.
Parents out there, I hear you, through all of that, I hear you saying, number one, it's making you more responsible. Yeah, number two, sure. You don't have to wait until you're 16, 15 to get a job, because some people won't hire you until you're 15 or 16 or 17, but you're having, you have income. And okay, so tell me, I think I know how old you are. Is it 13 or 14?
I'm 13.
You're 13. So 13 years old, and she has a string of income. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. And the fact you're not paying the bills, so
Right.
Not yet.
Invest. That was the other thing. You can invest,
Yeah.
right? You can start investing. You can start saving before you have things bills coming your way.
yeah. So you were saying, Chris.
Yes. You know what? First of all, I want to say a shout out to the pastor, right? He put that bug inside of his daughter, right? And that's one of the pros. A lot of people don't get it, right? A lot of people don't get it, and this is why
Yes.
I want people to start to change how they think.
Mhm.
I started to look at this proverb before. It says, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? It has nothing to do with money. Nothing. Because a fool and his money can soon be parted. So it's not, what it is that he is planting the seed for them to learn how to become totally independent, how for them to be business owners and take responsibilities. He's planting the seed for them and showing them how to create freedom. And that's one of the pros. Because once they have it in their mind, that's it. It ain't gonna go nowhere, right? Money's gonna come and go. You want to know the pros and cons about being a business owner? Money's gonna come, money's gonna go. That's it. It's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. It's gonna come, it's gonna go. What stays are the lessons that you learn, and that's what you want to pass on to your children. That's the wisdom that is there in being an entrepreneur and being a good business owner. The next thing is the pro about it. It expands your faith. Being a business owner, it expands your faith like you would not even imagine. And I don't know, I would say to pastor, I think maybe his wife is in the business, but I think I heard Adeniki say maybe a husband's in the business. My wife is in the business, right? So you got a single business and it's tied to one income, and you talk about the two becoming one. You want to talk about faith and business, expanding your faith when you don't know when the paycheck is coming, and you make a call and the person's on the next line say, yep, we got that check for you, and payroll is on Friday and it's 11 o'clock and they need their pay. You want to see how God works? That money comes on time.
Yes.
You've been faithful, and you start to just expand your faith because you're like, you know what, Lord, you worked it out for me last week. I need you there. And he's like, I'm going to make sure I supply you with all of your needs. Forget you want, but if that payroll is $100, he's going to make sure you get $100.01, no more, right? Yeah. But it expands your faith in everything else. Some of the cons, the con of running your business, right now in my life at 20 years, it's been managing people. I got a team of about 24, 25 people. So there is a con because it's a stress, managing personalities and whatnot. And so not that it's a bad thing, but it's something that you constantly have because personalities always shift all the time. And some days I don't know who's going to show up to work some days. Not people, I mean their mindsets. Because I'm like, oh, hold on, am I getting the cranky one today, or is this going to be the bubbly one, right? But it's managing personalities. That's it. There's obviously a lot of responsibilities, but I'll tell anybody, when you go into business on your own, remember just one thing: with every blessing, there is a burden. Yes. Every blessing you get, there is a burden. You got blessed with a car, but there's going to be a burden to maintain it. I got blessed with those little kids I got two of them, but there's a burden to bring them up right. There is a blessing, there is a burden. And so with that, you just need to just suck up to God more, Get in line with God more so that he can shape and mold you to deal with each and every challenge that comes your way, because he says he's never going to give you more than you can handle. So when you get that challenge or you get that con that you think or that issue, move it to God and say, God, Lord, show me what I need to do. Lord, pour out more patience on me. Right? Give me some of them fruits of the spirits. Let me be more forgiving. Let me not let my anger rage. You just got to lean on God more. And that's just what it is.
And by the way, perhaps these are all, akin to wherever you are in life in terms of how you have to interact with people. So I'm basically seeing that you're even looking at the cons and you're making it as an opportunity where, Lord, help me to grow so I can deal with my human resources.
Every day, you need it every day. You need it every day in business. You need the Lord to guide you through. You can't have a successful business without God. You can't have let me put it this way. You can't have a successful, lasting endeavor without God. That's your marriage. That's anything you commit to. It can't be successful without God.
And as I was looking at your bio and also Adanika's bio, what intrigues me is the fact that you left one of the largest brokerage company in Canada. The dinero was flowing. But then I remembered you made the point, it's not about money. The fool and his money will perish. And then Adanika, you said, your family was becoming flustered by the change in management. So you making that decision, even as a family man and a family woman, it creates a proper platform where you can actually elevate yourself and your family from. Yes. So yeah, continue. Adenike, anyone would like to chime in and give some more pros and cons?
I wanted to say about the pros and the cons. First, let me start with the cons. The first is isolation. Here you have a vision and you wrote it down, you made it plain, like in Habakkuk, write the vision, make it plain. But not everybody is about your vision. Okay, so they may have questions. Why are you leaving this huge opportunity in the corporate world to go and make food? Why are you going to open a restaurant? Are you a restaurateur? Are you a chef? No. How does a techie go from tech to making food? Now I got to go to school and learn nutrition. Now I got to go to business school and take on another degree. But it's the calling. It's being open and obedient, because I'm telling you, if you run away from it, the Lord will nag you until you bend. Okay, especially if he has you guys have a good connection, a relationship. He's not going to let you go. So I had to come to terms with that decision. So the isolation was real, but that's a part of leadership. Being isolated and alone at times, having to make those tough decisions. The other one is long hours. My days sometimes start at 3 a.m. in the morning. When everybody's sleeping, I have to get up at 3 a.m. because the kids are sleeping. My husband is resting. I can plug in, I can just go at it and get things done. But, I get tired, and sometimes the day goes until 10 p.m., maybe midnight, maybe till 3 the next morning. It's really very dedicated. You have to be persistent and continuous in the craft and building this craft. The next thing is negative feedback. Yes, I have a wonderful product. Yes, I have a great smoothie to sell you, but you know what? Not everybody's gonna like what I have to offer. So I have to be open to these negative feedback. And that was tough for me at first. My first negative review, I thought I was gonna die. I was sweating just reading this review on Google. And I was like, oh my gosh, what can I do to make this person, change your mind or change your review? And I just had to come to terms with, you know what? That's just what it is. I have to leave it alone. But my top 3 cons, and I'm not a traditional entrepreneur. Some people might think I'm just an obsessive one. Yes, entrepreneurship is about obsession, being obsessed with this craft and wanting to just deliver it and solve problems and see it grow into something beautiful. Failing. I love failing. Part of failing for me is, how do you say it? Because when I fail, I learn.
Yeah.
When I fail, I learn. So it's an opportunity for me to learn. The key is to fail fast and implement those, adjustments quickly. The next one I have here is, again, I'm going to go back to negative feedback. I use negative feedback to make a positive impact in my business. So that first negative review to me was, you know what, maybe some people don't want to come to your face and tell you that they don't like your product. So they have to leave it on Google. Yeah. So I go on there and I take it and I said, you know what, how am I going to turn it into a positive? And that's what I did. So we're able to keep up our 5-star reviews.
Yes.
And the next one is having, like Mr. Sawyer said, the flexible scheduling, being able to have that flexibility, because I grew this thing with my husband while we were homeschooling the children. Yeah. We had a newborn, we had a 3-year-old, and I had a, 17-year-old son. He was in school. They were all in school. I was breastfeeding. Like, these things were all going on at the same time. But the flexibility was there. And that's not something that I would have gotten if I had stayed in corporate America or corporate Canada, so to speak. So, it's just these beautiful opportunities that God creates and provides. However, delivering them is being a position of preparation. And that's the beauty of, being in the church and Adventist, that we were conditioned to live prepared. So that's something that we kind of have an edge on, if we were to pick out, being an entrepreneur, we kind of have that edge on living and preparing and being in a position to provide for someone else in need.
And I'm hearing you, I'm feeling you. And even as you talk about failure, because, a lot of us, we're afraid of failure. But Denzel Washington, I believe, he makes this point as he puts it, that we should not be afraid to fail big, right? So failing big is actually an opportunity to succeed big time. Yeah. And Joel, for you to look at just nails, to say, don't think about going to the salon, think about doing it yourself. But you actually make that attractive by saying, listen, I'm going to package something and I'm going to send to you. You're going to prefer to take that. How do you actually go about that? As I'm going to come with the question, Joel, I want you, because I think you're speaking to audience that is way over you, an audience right within your context. And of course, this is the essence of this program, to connect generation, which we're of course seeing with you, Heinz, and of course, which the other panelists have said as they connect their family as a part of their business. How was this for you, Joel?
So can you elaborate a little bit more? How do I what?
Yeah, just go into this not afraid of failing, but thinking of, I'm going to go with nails. Just, you don't have to go to the salon, which I believe every woman likes to go. You're going to do it for yourself and you're going to pay to do it.
No, I think how I went into it without having the mindset of, okay, you're going to fail, is since it's something I'm passionate about, since I like to do beauty, I feel like if I would have failed in one way, I would have learned from it and go to another plan. So because I'm so passionate and I'm confident in my product, I'll be like, okay, this didn't work, so let me try this.
Yes. So London, this is awesome, because this that she has is a big dream, right?
Yeah.
It's big. So how would you advise someone then to turn a big dream into a reality, such as your nails, or such as Sunrise Management, or Heinz life coaching? I think I did wrong, but you understand. Or Fiber. How do you advise someone to turn a big dream into a reality without sacrificing their integrity, their walk with Christ?
So I would say, trust that God will provide you with opportunities that you won't have to sacrifice your beliefs and stuff like that. Because when I was trying to go and start doing events, most of them are on Saturday because that's when people are off and they have free time.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, since I can't do that, let's just see what else happened. So I was able to go to different events that were on Sundays that I could still, sell my product there. So I didn't have to sacrifice what I believed in for sales. I could find a way around it and see new opportunities that I could still, follow what I believe in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome, Joelle. The scripture that comes to mind, in the Old Testament, is when with the manna, right? So Jesus said, take your manna for today, don't worry about tomorrow. And I think that oftentimes we sacrifice our integrity because we're trying to gather a whole bunch of manna in one day.
Mhm.
Right. But you're saying that you were willing to trust God, that even though you didn't know for sure because you didn't see what would happen tomorrow, you made sure to stick to your integrity. And I think that that's great. That I hear you. It sounds so it's so foundational too. I just want to point that out, that as you are a young person in entrepreneurship, you're gaining not just skills in business,
Mhm.
but you're growing in character, right? You're growing in leadership, and you're able to apply what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, but even more specifically, what it means to follow Christ when you come against things that are contrary to your belief system. Right. I mean, I think that that's awesome. I think that's great.
Yeah, yes, it
Yeah.
is. And I think it's a lesson
like
for a lot of young people as well. That guess what? You can do it. You can achieve the unthinkable. You can move the unmovable. You can become your big dream is already a reality if you would just believe in it. And if Joel did it without sacrificing or walk with God, I think that's an encouragement for other young thinkers and dreamers who are thinking about pursuing excellence. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
I know Chris for quite a time now. In fact, I pastored at the church that he's presently at. And one of the things that I always admire about you, more than the fact that you're a family man and you're just awesome all around, is that you try to allow other persons to think that way in terms of your business, your success is it's a part of your Christian walk, maybe because that's your name. Right. But tell me, how did you not sacrifice your Christian walk and still maintain the growth, phenomenal growth in your business?
You know what? I mean, it goes to each one of this, right? You have to understand, right, that how do I start this out? Okay, when you get an idea, you got to look at it broad, in a very spiritual context, a lot broader. When you get an idea, it's a vision planted by God. Reason why and why Adeniki had all of this resistance from people, they're like, what are you talking about? You're leaving IT to go and do whatever. My dad, I give you a quick story. My dad was the vice president of Bacardi Company. My dad's old school trained engineer, worked 40 hours, 45 hours. He sent me to school in Toronto. I went, did IT. I'm in my profession. I'm 23, 24, making $135,000 a year. I'm doing good. I'm on the road to like this. And he's like, what the devil are you talking about? You're going to quit your job to come home and shred paper? Are you crazy? He goes, no, right? And like my dad, and I am like 25, 26, well, I was younger than that. I was 23, 24, and I'm talking about what's the business? Shredding paper? You gotta understand that the vision that I got to go and shred paper was for me. That wasn't for anybody else. We gotta stop worrying about other people. Stop worrying about likes. Stop worrying about what people say to you on social media. Stop worrying about it. It ain't for them. The vision you got was for you. Now, if you accept that, and you really down with Christ, then what ends up happening now is that your level of faith increases and your fear of risk decreases. Because as Christians, we have this thing where God says that I'm going to provide you with all your needs. No matter where you're going, I'm going to be right there for you. No matter what's happening, I'm going to be right there. That's constant. That don't stop. Even if you're in the wilderness, that don't stop. That manna continues to drop, even though you're 40 days, even though your shoes drop off while you're walking in the wilderness, God is still right there. He's right there. He's right there. That don't stop. So what happens is your faith increases, your fear decreases. So the vision starts to materialize, and certainly he rewards everybody who is a faith believer. He rewards your faith. So, and then what happens now is, well, how do I not compromise my integrity? Why? Is because God already provides all my needs. So the integrity, am I going to steal? Why should I want to steal? God's provided me with all the cash that I need, right? Do I need to lie about something? No, God already has the vision there, so I don't have to lie about it. Do I have to commit fraud? No, I'm not going to do all of that, right? I'm going to take a bribe. Why am I going to take a bribe? Lord's got more cattle on 1,000 hills than you could provide for me.
Yes.
If you put this vision here for me, if you gave me another $50,000 to do this, please, 50 million, right? There's no reason to compromise when you're with Christ because he provides you with all of your needs, right? That sacrificing of your integrity kind of gets pushed to the side if you stay focused with God, right? Because if you remember, he gave you that vision and he said, above all things, I wish that you, what does he wish? That we succeed. And I'm like, God ain't gonna give me a vision to make me fail. That ain't happening. No.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Kimon, there was, so go ahead. Yeah, so I saw, Kimona, it looked like moments ago with this question about integrity, and as we were talking to Joelle, you seemed to wanted to add something to the conversation, and so I wanted to give you space to do that.
Sure, but I was going to let Adenike go first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So kind. All right, so for me personally, this is what I share with entrepreneurs that I counsel. I say, before you write a business plan, Christian entrepreneurs, because you have one that are secular and you have the Christians, but the ones that are my babies and they're Christians, before you write a business plan, you need to first read the book of Ecclesiastes. I begin with that book because there it helps you to unlearn the things that we've learned. There's a lot of things that we've been conditioned to, and the Bible is just is struggling to put through the information that God wants us to have, because we constantly lean to our own understanding and we don't acknowledge his ways. And so we don't know where the path is. And so the next step would be to go into the book of Proverbs. And the book of Proverbs is what helped me to structure my business. Now I'm spending time with God. Now I'm building this thing with him. Why? Because the opportunity to break the Sabbath, the opportunity to take bribes will come in business. They're going to come. They're going to be looming out there like apples on a tree, like mangoes on a tree, just dangling there. But because you have built and you have structured your heart around the things of God, around his understanding, you are able to uphold the integrity of the mission, of the vision, of the ministry, because the business that you do is ministering to other people. That's opportunities that you're creating to connect with other people and to share the struggle, to share your expertise on how God has brought you through a mighty long way. And so, with following through with Ecclesiastes and then going into Proverbs, now you can build your business plan, your framework to put through, and your blueprint to create this system and this process, because the integrity is not going to be sacrificed or brought to nothing, because it's easy. it's very easy, especially in a time like this with the pandemic, and there's need for funds, there's need for loans, there's so much need going on, and there's the opportunity to just be like, you know what, man has given themselves over to so many schemes, the Bible says. Why? Because we have no trust in God. We have no relationship with him. And so because we lack this, we tend to lean to our own understanding and try to figure things out on our own. And in doing so, that's when we start to plummet. And that's when the goal and the vision just becomes to dust. Like when Saul had his eyes on God, and then eventually he was just off into his own rockers. He lost the vision, and so God had to replace him. And so it's in these things I try to encourage entrepreneurs to just develop a good, steady foundation, a good structure, and a relationship. I have to lean onto God.
Yeah.
There's no way I can have this thing because, for example, having a restaurant, I close my restaurant Friday evenings. I'm shut, 4 o'clock, I'm done, gone. Saturday, closed, locked, short, the shop is locked. I have customers, well, what about, I want a burger, I want this, I'm so hungry. I'm sorry. My Lord will supply your needs, and he will supply my needs too. And that's what he's done. I have been closed now every Sabbath for 10 years.
All right.
Because he has supplied, he's taken care of everything. When I was trying to get my husband and I, we were trying to pitch for the licensee to operate inside of LA Fitness. We're opening a juice bar in LA Fitness. This was a tough one because the part of the contract was you have to be open on Saturdays. You have to be open. How dare you apply for a license to operate in my big corporate gym and ask for Saturdays off? What are you thinking? He brought and he sent me the documents. Look, Saturdays is a high day. That's the day when you will make most money. Why would you want to close? And so that was my opportunity to witness. And so we did. We sent him scripture. We sent him examples and why it's important to keep the Sabbath. Because you know what? That's what we're called to do. And so in doing so, he returned and he said, you know what? Us Christian folks have to stick together. Go ahead and close on Saturdays.
All right.
The Lord, he's the one that will provide. He will make the way. It's tough. It's very challenging. But when you are rooted in Christ, all things, he said, will be added onto you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you saying that you've tested it, right?
Yes.
You've tested it. You've some people say, don't test God, but you've tested it. You said, okay, Lord, I'm gonna do what I know you have told me to do, and I'll watch and I'll see. If you bless me, right? And you did that, and God has blessed you. And I think that, that's great, because when I think about some of the restaurants that I like, some of them are closed on certain days. I mean, some of them are closed, or sometimes they close early, but you know what? It's the best ones, the ones that are extremely delicious, fresh products. Those are the ones that close early or are closed on certain days. McDonald's is open all the time, right? McDonald's is open all the time until the late hours, but it's the ones that are good quality. And I hear you. I assume, right? I haven't tasted it. You have to send me something. I can
tell you this. Sunday is our high day. The Lord has provided, and they're just blown away. Like, how come you guys are still in business? We started with $200 and grew it to 6 figures.
Wow.
With $200. We took it, we made it, we put it back into the business. We were faithful, we were constant, because in the restaurant industry, there's so many things that are fabricated. There's so many lies. And because I'm uncomfortable to just adapt to these ways, I just cannot do it, because, the relationship that I have with God, I believe he sustained us this far. Yeah. And I know when we're faithful in little things,
yes.
give us much.
Yes.
Yeah. To just kind of add to what Adenike is saying and Chris said, and what Joel was saying, in terms of integrity, I think the whole issue with being an entrepreneur is about trust. And nothing helps build your trust more than going into business on your own. I think And it's a two-way street because, as they mentioned, you realize God trusted you with this idea.
Yes.
God trusted you with this vision. God trusted you with this creativity.
Right.
And then now you have to trust him in the boundaries and the limits and the things you say yes to and the things you say no to. And as we see in the parable, the reward for, exercising for the trust, when you trust God and you use what he gives you, is that he gives you more trust. And I think that's the exchange. So it's saying, okay, it's understanding really, my boss is God. So if I'm faithful to him, he's the one that I trust now to take care of me. So I may say no to something that in my eyes is going to give me the fix. It's going to get me what I want, but I'm trusting my boss. That if I say no to this, I trust him. He's going to take care of me.
Yes, that's good. That's good. I mean, and I think that so well translates into what many of us understand, right? I mean, whether you are in full time, whether you're getting paid by the church, right, in ministry, or if you are in the corporate world doing something else. I mean, so many people are like, oh, I can't do anything wrong, so I don't get fired. I have to do, what my boss is telling me to do. And you're shifting that mindset to say, you need to make sure that the boss of your boss, right? The boss of us all is pleased with what it is that you're doing, and that being God. That whether you are full-time entrepreneur, part-time entrepreneur, or thinking about going into entrepreneurship, that to have integrity is necessary, because the God who is making sure that you have everything that you need is the one that's calling you to integrity, and is the one who's calling you to Christ-like character. I mean, that's what I just heard you say. That's what I just heard you say.
In London, I just kind of want to add to what I keep getting your name wrong. Kimon, right?
Yes.
Kimon, what Adeniki says. And Adeniki, I want you to remember this, right? If I'm not certain, Chick-fil-A, that's US, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They close on Sundays.
That's right.
And Chick-fil-A is like here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, here. God is still rewarding them for their faith.
Yes.
God is still rewarding them for their faith. And that sounds odd, but
yeah.
You're going to listen to that one for a little bit. Let that sink in for a little bit. And I also wanted to say one more thing. Pastor, you said how God rewards you. I need entrepreneurs or people who are going in thinking about considering this. God doesn't do simple math. We have in our own technical minds, and even to Ms. Joelle, she'll say 2 + 2 is 4. That's not how God works. When you start exercising faith, when you do what he has asked you to do, that 2 + that 2 equals like 8. God rewards you. When he sees you exercising your faith, it just goes. And that's how $200 can be multiplied exponentially, because God doesn't operate with the regular math that we have. So if you exercise your faith, God is a reward of that faith. And no matter what sacrifice you make, I don't care what it is, he is going to reward you with that much more than what you could have ever given.
Yes. And and I want to explain a little bit my response to what you just said, Chris. You brought up Chick-fil-A, and a lot of people there, I know some Adventists in particular, right, that have a problem with Chick-fil-A, right, because they identify Sunday as the Sabbath and not Saturday as the Sabbath, right? But I think what you're saying is so important, because the scriptures talk about that we will be held accountable for what's been revealed to us, right? We are held accountable according to the measurement of faith that God has given us in a particular season, right? And so for them, their understanding, now we can argue, if their understanding is right, we'll say as evidence their understanding is wrong, but with their understanding, they're being faithful to what they know to be right. And so I hear you making that comparison, that how much more will God bless us, right, if we were also faithful to the information that we've been shared, that's been given to us.
Right. Yeah. Not into any debate about Sabbath, right and wrong. My thing was that you have somebody who's exercising their faith and they're being rewarded. So
Yeah.
don't
And the thing about it.
Into the Sabbath debate.
Right. Not trying to do that.
And the thing about it, this is not only for those who keep Sabbath as our belief might dictate, but it's for everyone. Because God, when God created us, he wants us to be good stewards. He wants us to be stewards of the estate that he has blessed us with. And the thing about it, he blessed us from we're young. It's only that some of us, we're 36 and we're still wondering or holding on, right? But God has blessed us with all of these abilities and ingenuities so that we can be a blessing also to others as well as to ourselves. And it kind of, I believe, it doesn't speak much of the gospel when I'm going around and talking about what God can do if you just trust him and launch out. And then at the end of the day, because we're Christians, because we have receive something from God, we shut down ourselves, shut down the opportunity of excelling and getting where God really has in store for us. I thought about this story, I shared it this morning, where Jesus fed the multitude. But after he fed the multitude, he said to the disciples, let us go over on the other side. Sometimes we just want to stay with the one feeding that God has given us. And we do not want to get out of the comfort zone to go somewhere else that he's telling us because we're afraid of what adventures we might encounter on that route to that success story. Kimon,
yes,
you're saying something. I see you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we're basically down to the very last. So London, if you could just take us there as we bring this together.
Yes, for sure. Let me unmute myself. Yes. Yeah. So our very last question is to give last remarks. Do you have any closing remarks of hope? Closing remarks of hope. I believe throughout all of the commentary today, each of you have given hope already. And so I just wanted to give another kind of opportunity for you to give hope to the entrepreneurs that are listening right now in this moment, and those that may have fears for whatever reasons they may have fears in going into entrepreneurship. Please, if all of our panelists, Joel, that includes you too, to give us a last remark of hope.
So I would say that everything about our entrepreneur journey will not be picture perfect. There will be failures that you will go through, but it is important to learn from those failures and to get better as you go through your journey.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
And I'm going to add to what Joel is saying. I think for everyone out here, what I want to speak to is not just the person who has registered a business, someone who has an office space. I want to speak to every person. And I want to use a line from a movie that my family and I watched called The Incredibles. The mother, Elastigirl, says to her children in a cave, you have more power than you realize. And I realized just in my interactions with people in the world, in church, anywhere, that there's so much creativity locked inside of so much of us that we don't take action on because we just don't believe that we have anything to offer. We downplay what we have. We devalue what we have. We just kind of toss it to the side and we think someone else has something more than us. But I just want to say to someone, if what you tried didn't work, you still have that gift inside of you. You still have that creativity. And you have the power of God inside of you working through you. I've seen some of the most creative people just, and in churches, working, raising children, and they don't even see the value of what they have. And I just want to say to that person who may not have even started a business officially, you have more power than you realize. And just to take some small steps to take action on that thing.
Amen. Amen. That's good. That's good. To
I
our
wanna
other two.
say something real quick. I'm just so encouraged by, what Kimon said. Just remember this. I am a techie. I never thought I would stand before people and serve them. I was petrified. Okay, London. I was just like,
I
but
hear you.
I had to learn that skill. I didn't understand how to put sauces together, but I had to learn that skill. I didn't know how to do a business plan. So I went into school, I registered for a business degree.
All right.
While I was in class, I wrote my business plan. When everybody else was making up a business, I had a real one. I didn't tell the professor because I wanted him to go in it and just rip it to shreds. I was so desperate to get the help,
To
and
learn.
so that's what he did. And it's that same business plan I used to make my pitches. So I just wanted to encourage you guys that if you don't think you have a skill, remember, even one talent, or if you can make the talent, because God will give you and he will supply all your needs. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to fret, because once you have that relationship with God, like Abraham, you will step out by faith and he will take you the rest of the way. So I just want to encourage you guys and just let you know that, entrepreneurship is something that you kind of get to see the Bible unfold, because now the stories that you've heard, you're actually living it in real life. And now you are able to actually use those examples that were given to actually apply to what you're seeing going on, and it actually works. So the Bible is actually valid for today's time and, definitely for today's businesses.
Amen. Amen. That's good. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I have a friend in particular that I'm thinking about, and she knows that she's a techie too, right? And being able to say, look, this is not, I say, oh, I can't give pitches, but the Lord put in you what you needed for what he told you to do. Amen. All right, Chris, your last words, your remarks.
The last one is continue to be a problem solver.
Yes.
Where there's problems, there's opportunities. So opportunities exist. I can't tell you how many businesses I know that have actually come out of this COVID-19 period. How many people have found different things or different ways of how to do different things, and they've made them into a business. So continue to continue to position yourself as a problem solver. You will always, always, always be valued. So that's number one. Number two, remember that God will always bless you. Doesn't matter. He will always bless you. And number three is to stay relevant in a very present time. Staying relevant in a very present time, because it goes to what Kimor said, you have to be creative. If something is not working in this particular model that you have, how do you be relevant to it? How do you change the times? I can't do business the same way I used to do business 20 years ago, right? I have to position myself differently. You have to position your business differently. Even as a pastor, I don't care what it is. You gotta reshape your message to be relevant to the audience that you have in front of you every Sabbath.
Yeah.
So out of the position that you have, you gotta be relevant. And I'm looking at Miss Joelle. I'm like, man, I can't even imagine. You're only 13, girl. Oh my gosh. Right?
She's collecting jewels, right? She's collecting jewels for the future.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
to my very young audience that's out here, to Joelle and those, I will tell you this. Don't worry about the future, because it's not so much about predicting the future, which no one can reliably do. It's about imagining a better future and taking the steps to make that a reality.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to repeat that. It's about imagining a better future and taking the steps to make that a reality. And that's what I want my young folks to really, really, really have, that imagining the future. I'm going to say something that's a little techie. It's the guy that I follow called Elon Musk. My techie friends may know about this guy, but that's one of his driving things. It's about imagining a better future of what life can be, and then having the courage, the tenacity And may I dare say, the naivety of saying, listen, I am going to make a better future out of it. And so future entrepreneurs, don't be afraid. You got God on your side. And if God is for you, who can be against you? Okay. So I'll leave it in that and continue to invest in yourself. I mean, continue to invest and pour in and read books, all kinds of books, invest in yourself. Okay. Because you need the tools to equip yourself so that you can make that vision a reality for the future.
Amen.
So I leave that out to you guys. All right.
Awesome.
Yes, that's good. I mean, and for those who are like, I don't like reading books, there's Audible. And for those who are like, Audible's too expensive, there's an app called Speechify that you can take a picture of things on the computer, things on your phone, or even hard copies, and it will read it to you. So you have no excuse not to look up information and read books or listen to books through these different apps, these different platforms, so that you can gain more information about what God has put inside of you, and then use those talents well. I just want to thank all of our panelists. You all were each one of you were so great and added so much value to this conversation. I know Larry is going to share some information about you all, and there will be information on YouTube. We'll have the different links in the description for those who are watching on YouTube, and for those who are watching on Facebook, we will also make sure that their information is in the caption, so that you can know how to find these individuals if you want to learn more about them, or if you would like to take part in their business, if you would like to be an investor in their business or buy something from them, then you'll have those opportunities. Thank you so much, everyone who came today. You all were great. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better panelist.
It's really exciting.
I couldn't.
Thank you.
I'm curious to go and connect with Joel, because I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old, and all my kids have their own businesses. They all they had no choice. So I'd love to. I want to connect them with other, kids that are running businesses and are entrepreneurs. So.
All right. So this is the place. This is Zoom Home Life, where we connect generation while intentionally infusing hope within your context. We're just so happy, London, just to have these panelists with us. And I know the audience have been blessed. And will you believe it? We are out of time.
We are out of time, but really quickly, please, once again, share.
I'm gonna share first. I'm gonna share with you this information of the panelists. So you have heard them. You have Christine Sawyer, you have Joe the Hines, and then you have Adaniske. Here are their information if you want to know where they're at. And after this, I will just take you out. But let's see. So this is where we do it. We slay nails. All right. So we slay nails. So you can just follow on Instagram or Facebook or the website slaynails.com, and you can learn more. You can participate in this blessing that the Lord has out there for you. Then you have Sunrise information management. You can just go to www.sunriseinfo.com, and you can just learn how you can benefit from this blessing that the Lord has blessed the Sawyers with. And of course, you also can just type in your browser ASKADENIKE.com, and you will be taken to a tantalizing encounter as she will give you fiber. That's a restaurant for the time. And of course, Kimon Imes, if you want to start to take your little ideas or your big ideas into realities, he knows exactly how to motivate you and to get you there. So you can just connect with him, KYMONEHINDS.com. And you can just bless yourself with the vast information that they have for you. You know, as I've gone through this, I am blessed. You know, it's one thing to read it, it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to allow yourself to be impacted by the light. Uh, One of my favorite writer, prophet in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Ellen G. White, she says, higher than the highest human thought can reach is God's ideal for his children. Godliness, godlikeness is the goal to be reached. And before the children is placed a continual path of success. That's somewhere in the book, Education. I did not get the exact page for you. But Nelson Mandela, he makes this point, and I always share this as I would move from place to place and interact with young people as a mentor. There is no passion to be found, none whatsoever. There is no passion to be found in playing small, settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living. Dream big, live big. God is a big God, so he has a big plan for his children. So this has been another exciting episode of Zoom Hope Life. Remember, as London has said before, you got to like it, you got to share it, you got to follow it as we continue to infuse hope within your context. Thank you again to all the panelists. I am your host, Laura Green, and our co-host,
London Anderson.
all right. And
You all have a happy Sabbath.
See you next week. We have another exciting discussion right there for you. Just follow our Facebook page and you will see the lineup that we have for the entire month of July. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. Now share it.